Morning scripture comes from the Gospel of Luke, chapter 8, verses 26 through 39. Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house, but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demon into the wilds. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" He said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now there on the hillside a large herd of swine was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these. So he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherds saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. But then the people came out to see what had happened. And when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. Then all the people of the surrounding country of the Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave them, for they were seized with great fear. So he got into the boat and returned. The man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. Well, it's really no wonder that things worked out for William the way they did, because he was born in a tavern that his parents owned and operated and lived up above. And William suffered from depression and anxiety from a young age. And it only got worse when he was 17, when his girlfriend had surgery and ended up dying from the complications. And so from that point on, the depression and the anxiety really got a hold of him. He was available eventually to go off to college, but after his second semester, he had to quit because the depression and the anxiety just got the best of him. Well, the next year, he tried to go back, and he was doing okay, except for the fact that there was a hazing incident, and nobody would admit to being involved in it, and so the entire class was expelled. Well, he eventually went into the National Guard and was called up into World War I, so this kind of gives you an idea of the time period we're talking about. But as he was training, he and the rest of the boys would have opportunity to go rub shoulders with the high-class folk who would come and entertain the troops and provide a little bit of social life for them. But see, William found that this was extremely frightening because he had this debilitating condition of anxiety, and he really couldn't look people in the eye. He couldn't enjoy himself being in the social setting. So he eventually found that the drinks that they were serving made life easier for him. He was able to relax. He was able to enjoy himself, and he had no inhibitions anymore about talking with these folks. Well, as you can guess, the alcohol eventually got the best of him, and he did end up coming back from the war intact, and he went to law school. But the unfortunate thing was that he was never able to graduate, because on graduation day, he was too drunk to go and get his diploma, and so the school wouldn't let him graduate. Eventually, he became a stock speculator, and he would go to different companies and help investors to understand whether the company was worth investing in or not, because he would do all of the investigations and come up with paperwork for them. And his wife at the time encouraged him. She thought it was a great idea because he could go out and travel and get his mind off of things and perhaps drink a little less. And so this was a good thing, except for the fact that he had to entertain his clients, and it just proved that it just exacerbated the situation. So he ended up drinking more and more, until they finally got to the point where he became known as a drunk and unreliable, and he eventually lost his job. Finally, William hit rock bottom, and he tried to quit many times. He had tried all these experimental treatments that they were doing back in the day that even some involved LSD, believe it or not. So he was trying everything that was available in medicine at the time to quit drinking, but he finally hit rock bottom, and he lay there feeling terrible, wishing he could die, both physically and emotionally, just completely and utterly unable to function. And at that point, he remembered that his grandfather, who had actually founded the tavern that his parents worked and lived at, had also been an alcoholic. And he went off in the mountains of Vermont, and he had this spiritual experience, and after the experience, he never again took another drink. And so William remembered this, and as he's laying on the floor, kicking his feet, trying to keep from throwing up and just feeling so terrible, he said, "God, where are you? If there's a God out there, would you show yourself? I'm willing to do anything." And supposedly at that point, there was a bright light, and he said it was so bright that he could feel the warmth on his face, that it almost even burned him. From that day, for the other 50-some years of his life, he never did take another drink. He went on to go to these support groups that helped folks who were addicted to different things to be able to quit. And he said, "Hey, I want to add something. We all have to admit that we have a higher power that has to be involved in this process to help us." And he came up with these 12 steps. And so from that point on, at least once a week, he would stand up in front of a group of addicts, and he would say, "Hi, my name is Bill W., and I'm an alcoholic." Well, as you can guess, yes, he was the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. But you see, he wasn't cured at that point. He never did drink again. But he wasn't cured because he very easily could have taken another drink. No, Bill was healed. And there's a stark difference. You see, even on his deathbed, when he was dying of cancer, he asked the nurses to give him some whiskey to ease the pain, and they refused because they didn't want to ruin these 50-some years of sobriety. And so, of course, they gave him morphine instead. The thing was, he could have taken a drink. He wanted to. He wasn't cured. It didn't take away the desire to do it, but somehow he was healed. It's hard for us to wrap our minds around the difference between the two. We tend to lump them up together into the same category, but there is a great difference, as the man at Gerasek found out. Now, I don't know why he was there. I don't even know why Jesus was there, because the preceding text just says that Jesus went from Galilee, and he told the disciples, "Get in the boat, we're going to go to the other side of the lake." Who knows why? Was he seeking this man out? I have no idea. It said that this man was a demoniac who was chained up in these tombs out in the outskirts of town, and that he would go and rattle his chains and carry on a ruckus, and eventually would break those chains and would go wandering around naked in the wilderness. It's very easy as we read this for us to think of maybe Linda Blair with her head spinning around doing pea soup. Or maybe Anthony Hopkins in the right saying, "Hello, priest." But I don't really think that's what it looked like. Because this man, he comes up to Jesus and he says, "Jesus, Son of the Most High God, what do you have to do with me? Do not torment me, I beg of you." So he ran up to Jesus and he says, "I've got a demon, I need to be healed." No, he didn't. He said, "Jesus, leave me alone. I know who you are, but I do not want you to heal me." Why?